Democrats are going hard as ever in the Virginia gubernatorial race. Former President Barack Obama, President Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, Stacey Abrams, even Taylor Swift are set to campaign with former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. The race has been unexpectedly tight since between McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin, who are now neck and neck, with McAuliffe leading Youngkin by a mere 3 percentage points in a new CBS YouGov poll, which was within the margin of error, which is 4 percentage points. In a state that voted for Barack Obama twice and for Joe Biden in 2020, Virginia's gubernatorial race is shaping up to be a referendum on Democrats and their political strength or weakness in the first year of Biden's presidency. Joining me now to discuss is senior editor of the Washington Post, Mark Fisher, and Michael Harriot, senior writer for The Root. Mr. Fisher, so Virginia has been leaning blue. What is happening in this race that makes it so tight between McAuliffe and Youngkin?
That is the $10,000 question. This is a very tight race. It is one that the Democrats had expected to win handily. Joe Biden won Virginia by 10 points last year. No Republican has won a statewide office in Virginia in more than a decade, and Terry McAuliffe himself won quite handily in 2013. So what's happening here? Well, in the first regard, the year after a presidential race, Virginians almost always choose a governor of the opposite party. The only exception to that in recent decades is McAuliffe himself back in 2013. Second, there's a significant lack of enthusiasm among two crucial voting segments for McAuliffe, and that is suburban women and African-American voters. Both of them overwhelmingly have supported Democrats in recent races. Both of them would be expected to be on McAuliffe's side and probably will end up being. But the question is, in what numbers will they turn out? In what numbers will they come to the aid of Terry McAuliffe against a Republican candidate who's positioning himself as a moderate, as a genial businessman who's willing to compromise and who's pushing back against McAuliffe's message that Glenn Youngkin is simply another Donald Trump.
Michael, you know, the voters of Virginia know McAuliffe. He was the governor before. How much of this is a referendum on his own record? And how much of it is more reflective of the national politics and a referendum on Democrats and Biden?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think we see that McAuliffe's opponent, first of all, is using many of the same tropes and many of the same arguments that politicians and Republican politicians are using across the country. He's, going in against critical race theory, right? Even though it's not taught in Virginia schools. He's using many of the conservative arguments, as if he's a populist, even though he is a rich businessman. So he's using some of those same Republican and conservative ideas and strategies that we see used in races nationwide. But I think, a lot of it is because of the economy. We're in a downturn of the economy, and we're seeing some of the things that the Democrats usually can run on be rejected by voters, and especially the rural voters in Virginia. And so I think that's hurting McAuliffe also. So I think it's a combination of the thing, but most of all, we see that McAuliffe is hurting because the Democrats nationwide are hurting and not usually pulling in the numbers from their usual demographics that they could always count on.
Mark, coming off of what Michael is saying there, part of the hurt is, the Democrats nationally are just not delivering on many of the things that in particular they said they were going to deliver on for the Black community. They're just not only they're not having delivered them yet, they're not even stressing them very strongly in their messaging. What part do you think that is playing in the kind of dampening of enthusiasm, as you said before, among African Americans in Virginia?
Well, it is, as Michael said, it is very much a question of the economy, of Democrats' failure to take advantage of their control, not only in Richmond, Virginia, but in Washington. This race has been successfully nationalized by the Republicans. You don't hear a lot about local issues except when they're attacking McAuliffe for his statements about the schools and the teaching, the purported teaching of critical race theory. What he's being attacked with is the Biden administration and the idea that the Democrats in control of both houses of Congress and the White House have been unable to come through for their voters. And this is something that McAuliffe himself has expressed great frustration over. He keeps telling Biden publicly on television interviews and the debates, you need to get out there and get it done. And McAuliffe, coming very much from the same center of the Democratic Party as Biden, is deeply frustrated that Biden is not producing for McAuliffe because this Virginia race is not just about Virginia. It really is, it sends a signal for the midterm elections next year. And if the Democrats lose this, it does not bode well for their ability to put together a winning message, rekindling the coalition that got Barack Obama and Joe Biden elected and that turned Virginia into what Democrats thought was a solidly blue state.
Michael, if Republicans are nationalizing the race, is it smart strategy to then bring in the national figures on the Democrat who are in fact being criticized by Republicans? Is it smart to have, Biden and Dr. Jill Biden come in as ambassadors into campaign? Is it smart to have Obama there and other people, or is that counterproductive?
Yeah, I think it's in some senses it is counterproductive because the strength of the Democratic parties, especially in Virginia, we have to remember that Virginia, we always talk about politics outside of the Beltway. Well, half of Virginia, and especially the half where the Democratic base resides, is inside the inside the Beltway. So this election serves kind of as a bellwether for the 2022 midterms in a certain way, and so these voters are a little more sophisticated. They know a little bit more about politics. They are more a little inside baseball than the normal electorate, and so I don't think some of the things that turn off the average Democratic voter. You can't bring in people like Joe Biden when his approval rating is so low. You can't bring in some of the more progressives if you're trying people like AOC, if you're trying to run as a moderate. So it's kind of a quandary where the people who would normally be strong and normally could campaign for a Democratic governor or a Democratic candidate won't work in Virginia because they're a little more sophisticated. And you combine that with, again, McAuliffe's opponent being able to pull in the people that appeal to the Republican base, the conservatives, the Trumps, the people who are indicative of that, that right wing Republican ideology. It pretends it's why this race is so close. But in the end, I think what we see is that the enthusiasm for the Democrats will be just like it is nationally. It'll be to turnout. That's what it'll come down to, and hopefully we can see that that McAuliffe will win.
Mark Fisher and Michael Harriot, thank you both for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.